200 to 300 individual predictions. Predictions are sitting in the Hebrew scriptures. The predictions are stretched across 1,000 years. The predictions are written by like over 30 people that didn't know each other. All of these predictions come true in one event. The event is not a war. The event is not a ice age or a global warming. The event is not a government rising up. The predictions are pointing to something. They're not pointing to an earthquake. All these predictions are pointing towards the details of a life of one little human being. Just one human being. A human being who did not travel all around the world. That human being did not go to China and Southern Africa and the British Isles and points unknown. That individual person traveled around in an area, it's kind of funny, in an area the size of New Jersey. I come from New Jersey. New Jersey is the most densely populated state in the United States. All these predictions, 200 to 300 predictions, set in writings. This is a bizarre, supernatural, literary miracle. A strange anomaly. A shocking peculiarity that is not paralleled in any other literature. You cannot find any other literature in all of human history that has 200 to 300 predictions set in one set of writings that all point to one event. This is noteworthy. This is peculiar. This is dramatic. This is shocking. And this is fascinating. On April 19th, 1994, I was reading a statement that sort of goes along the lines of what I'm saying to you right now. I had been a person, a world traveler, a musicologist, a fine student of cinema history and world cultures and art and music and all kinds of stuff. Love to travel the old highways, and I love fine old vehicles. And basically, I had nothing to do with what you would call Jesus, God, Church, and Bible. And in fact, I heartily slandered anybody that fooled around with that stuff as stupid losers, wasting their time. The opiate of the masses, that kind of stuff. Now, I happen to be raised by a couple of people who were peace and social justice focused. If you don't understand what the Religious Society of Friends is all about, the Quakers, they are pacifists, and they do not believe in retaliating or hurting humans in any way. And they are extremely critical of government hierarchies and religious hierarchies. They believe in simplicity and honesty and listening to what is referred to as the Holy Spirit or the Spirit of Christ when you're doing your life business. So I was raised with parents who were trying to make a difference in the world. And throughout my youth, I was brought to Methodist and Presbyterian churches. When I was about 14 years old, I had this very sour, troubling feeling. There's something fake about this church stuff. There's stuff that we're supposed to be doing that we're not doing. There's something missing. Something isn't right. And I didn't have the courage to go to Big Mr. Methodist Pastor Guy and say, hey, Big Mr. Methodist Pastor Guy, how come I feel like there's something fake or there's something we should be doing that we're not doing? So I didn't ask questions. I didn't seek solutions. And I just kind of left the atmosphere of Jesus, God, church, and Bible. You guys can do that stuff if you want to, but I'm not interested. I'm going to learn about wonderful things. I love to research things and learn them well. So once upon a time on this day, April 19th, 1994, I'm reading this little treatise, and it says, the most amazing story, the most amazing drama that's ever been presented to the mind of human beings is this: the pre-written life of Jesus of Nazareth is in the Hebrew Scriptures. And the Spirit that put all those predictions in place is the Spirit that knows you and knows your future and knows your past and knows all the elements and the powers and the influences that have been around you in your life. The Spirit that put the predictions in the Hebrew Scriptures is the only trustworthy Spirit who knows you. Okay, Then you have another literary problem. The Koine Greek New Testament, Matthew to Revelation. Now, I'm a library guy, so you're going to get detail from me. I don't screw around with stuff. This is dead serious. I have been researching now for 30 years just to find smooth, comfortable, easy ways of communicating these things to myself when I was 14 years old. Because nobody freaking did it. Nobody gave me sparkly inspiration. Nobody brought me to a point of fascination with this supernatural set of writings. It is fully supernaturally designed for you to benefit from. And there have been ages, thousands of years of churches that are running along, and they've forgotten some of the most basic and essential principles that Jesus taught that help especially male human beings from going insane. The things that Jesus taught are truly, primarily, to help the crazy men be comforting fathers and peaceable team members and unified friends of peace, separate from this world of pride and greed and money and selfishness and people chasing their own comforts with a lack of compassion towards others. The teachings of Yeshua call the men to become the lineage of blessing. 1 Corinthians 11, verse 3. The lineage of blessing is God to Christ, Christ to male human beings to female human beings, and the children and the newcomers. There's this lineage. And the men are judged more harshly. The women are not judged harshly at all. The women are off the hook. On Judgment Day, you're going to see that the women are not. Every woman who has had trouble, there's going to be a man held responsible for her not being cared for properly. In every situation where a woman is suffering, there is a man held responsible. There's a man held responsible for the woman's hurt. And if you don't believe that, that's fine. But this is a serious, sobering reality, which causes us to have a responsibility to unify and understand how to communicate with and raise the boys and the men. They didn't raise me in a way where I had understanding. I lacked understanding for 40 years. That's ridiculous. That's horrible. And right now, the whole Grandpa Honesty Guy program is changing all that. Number one, if you've got a measure of interest in Jesus, God, Church, and Bible, I'm going to smack you up with some serious things that you should be concerned about. But most importantly, I'm going to hand you a cheerful program for your bored teenagers so they start getting fascinated with the stuff of the powers in the spirit realm and the things that we can do to counteract evil before it happens. There are things that we can do to prevent disasters before they happen. There are ways that we can open direct guidance from God for our relationship problems, for our family business things. We can get guidance direct from God, but it has to come through a certain process and avenue. God will speak through many, many avenues, but there are also structured ways that Jesus taught for us to gather and listen to the Holy Spirit. And those are the things that have been largely ignored. So where are we going with this? Well, I'm saying the same thing over and over again. I've got an outline of wild stuff that most of you Christian types would not agree with, because they basically say, hey, your habits are wrong and your church habits are anti-Christ. And the habits that he wants you to have, you're just not doing at all. So you're sick, you're insane. There's all kinds of horrible things going on. It's a tragedy. The American church mess is dangerous. And I could feel that when I was 14 years old. And I was away from it for 30 years. And then that one moment, April 19th, 1994, God woke me up. And here was the point I wanted to make. I was terrified. I literally ended my life. Have you ended your life? Have you totally cut yourself off and put yourself in an only God and spiritually focused mode? That's a thing that I call the transformation vacation. If you look at the New Testament, Jesus of Nazareth takes 12 tough guys. Have you ever known a commercial fisherman? Commercial fishermen are tough people. They don't live an easy life. They're out there with their nets, trying to catch mullet and sell them at the fish dealer. Jesus selects a bunch of working stiffs. These people are not intellectuals. They're not scholars. They're not, super spiritual, religious types. They're just people with a heart. And if you really watch and observe carefully as you read through the New Testament, Jesus knows how to select people that are of the right heart. They might not have all the information, but their heart operates in a way that's right and proper. So Jesus knows how to select a heart, and he truly did select my heart. I was the kid whose mommy had sex with 3 different guys in 10 days. She didn't know who the daddy was. She was pregnant with me. She was trying to commit suicide. A guy came along and said, hey, I like you. Let's start a family. So I was adopted, and I ended up having a wonderful family life. But my father was terrified because he didn't know how to talk about the whole story of whatever, sex, desire, promiscuity, crisis pregnancy. None of that was talked about. for 25 years. So then when I finally found the information out, I'm like, you guys are like the favorite parents in the neighborhood. How come you didn't tell me a long time ago? So anyhow, I had great parents. But I did not get trained in the eternal and supernatural stuff. Not in an effective way. So on that day, April 19th, 1994, I realized my music, it's got to die. My cinema, it's got to die. All of my cars and car shows and motorcycles, they got to die. I got to push them away. My friends, I got to close the door to my friends. I've got to hide away and figure out how to interact with this God thing and what it's all about. So for about 4 years, I hid in my parents' house and my parents' estate. There's a house in New Jersey. There's a house in Chattanooga, Tennessee. There's a house in Florida. And I'm studying the Bible, and I'm helping my family, and I'm just closed off from everything. And I discover what a concordance is. And I start reading this Bible stuff. And I'm blown away by Jeremiah. I'm like, oh my gosh, Jeremiah is like a punk rocker. He's saying if you people weren't so materialistic and selfish, you might have a better life and you might be blessed. Jeremiah was called by God to question the people's selfish, idle, worthless, boring, stupid behavior, sitting around listening to empty shows, sitting around in video games for hours and hours and hours, just trying to run away from boredom. Jeremiah was challenging the people to be active friends of God and do all kinds of groovy stuff that he's requesting. And it was interesting. I thought the Bible was going to be boring, but it ended up getting very, very interesting and fascinating. And then the Holy Spirit inside of me, the same Spirit that told me this church is fake, that same Spirit told me, now go into those churches and have a look at what they're doing. So God started sending me to churches. I went on what I call a 24-year tour of the church mess in America. And I just didn't bounce around and visit churches. I would sit down in a certain type of ministry or denomination for a long period of time, for 6 months, for 2 years. And I would do what they did and learn what they learned. And it was interesting because I discovered and found stuff that I'd never thought of before. I saw scriptures that were so inspiring. I was like, man, I wish I had known this when I was doing that one business deal, because that's exactly what that guy did in that situation. This is describing the type of evil. I was learning so much. I was in a closed off from my entertainments, my comforts, my interests. All of my interests were being a disciple of Jesus of Nazareth and a follower of the Holy Spirit of God. That's it. for years and years and years. So as I went through my 24-year tour of the church mess in America, I sat down with the Amish and the Mennonites, and I saw a type of family that made me feel jealous. I kept thinking, I could have been born in a family like this. These people are so close. They sing together, they work together. They're like a beautiful little team that really cares for each other. But then as they're preaching, they're saying, if you're chasing after miracles, signs, and wonders, then that's not of God. And then in other churches, I'm actually watching people do miracles, signs, and wonders, and heal the sick and raise the dead and make bad spirits go away. So in the peaceable Mennonite and Amish atmosphere, in that denominational setting, there were many beneficial things. Beautiful, strong things. Deeply inspiring things. But then there were also things that were truly anti-Christ. They were against Jesus' teaching. Jesus says, don't do anything. First, receive the power from on high. Do not go anywhere. Don't run your ministry. Don't start doing stuff. First, receive the supernatural power, the baptism of the Holy Spirit. And the Mennonites and the Amish largely do not respect and are not eager and hungry to obey that one article of instruction from Jesus. And what is that? That is the presence of what is properly referred to as a religious demon. It's a demon in a denomination that is blocking a very important principle and literally causing it to be thrown out of the program. So as there is an absolutely anti-truth, anti-Christ point set in your denomination. And I challenge you to discern what those things are. Because in all these different denominations and ministries, the bigger they get, the more anti-Christ evil points get built in and principles get closed off. Where is the safe place? The safest place is the communion group in the home where the men, the male human beings, know and describe cheerfully in a funny way their remaining weaknesses, which are afflicting spirits or demons. Yes, you can be saved and still have a powerful afflicting spirit in your atmosphere that doesn't own you, but when you're weak, when you're stressed, when you're pushed to a limit, they can actually shove you off the rails a little bit and make you overreact or get angry or literally just become lazy. Oh, I don't feel like it. Oh, I don't feel like it. Oh, that's not comfortable. Oh, I wouldn't want to do that. Forget that. This one little spirit will come in and block you from doing the thing that's a simple benefit. So, a gathering of men who know and can cheerfully describe their remaining weaknesses and or demons, who when they come together admit their faults since the last communion time. But most importantly, they bring everybody together to say, what's the Holy Spirit been saying to you? What are the things that we could do to bless the God that we haven't thought about? And even the children have beautiful ideas because there's no such thing as a junior Holy Spirit. So, these are the goodies. This is the good stuff. So, number one, Grandpa Honesty Guy and the Jesus Goodies with Eddie, the spirit-filled super teen. That's one important teaching that I have to share. And it starts out with how to teach the whole family how to care for the women, how to care for the women in a wonderful way. That's the first job, is caring for the women. And then the second job is teaching the men to be honest about their heaviest weaknesses. So, Grandpa Honesty Guy and the Jesus Goodies. But then the other thing is taking you general Christians and leading you through this awesome, inspirational tour of the Bible for bored teenagers, taking them through all the weird and wild stuff so they know how to describe it in scholarly detail, and they can apply it to their own crazy little lives. This is what I've been developing over the past 30 years, and it's no small thing. This is going to take off. It's going to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And it's going to create thousands and millions of home communion groups where people stay safe. You cannot stay safe in Pastor Jim Bob's megachurch. You cannot stay safe in the big shiny ministry that's making miracles. You cannot stay safe in the nonstop worship ministry. You've got to be grounded in a home communion group. The whole IHOP Kansas City thing, it's just a bunch of tragic incest because the people were never taught how to get set into honest communion groups where the men are being honest. So the men are stuffing things, and then all of a sudden, there's secret intimacies going on. It's just normal incest. People have desire and pleasure. They get close to one another, and they end up having desire and pleasure for one another. They pet each other. They end up in an intimate situation, and it's understandable because they are not grounded in what Jesus taught, which is we're supposed to be baptized into a home communion group which will maintain our souls for the rest of our lives. We live in home communion group cleansing. We live the rest of our lives in home communion group cleansing with a strong brotherhood. And the women are not challenged. They are fed the communion. They are blessed. They are called honorable and blessed. And the women and children and newcomers are fed the communion to empower them and help them grow and be part of our unified team. That's the whole picture in a nutshell. I could have understood that when I was 6 years old. This is not a complicated thing. Now, when I begin to show you how the home communion group has victory against supernatural, powerful spirit beings that run entire governments and media, you're going to be amazed. you're going to be amazed at the difference between a little demon and a fallen cherub and other types of spirit beings and the divine counsel that is around God. Because human beings have brought good and evil in upon ourselves, now God has a divine counsel of spirit beings. And some of those spirit beings are literally in disobedience. King Saul, King Jehoshaphat, and the prophet Micaiah. God is before his divine counsel. He says, who is going to put an end to this Ahab guy? He's messing up my people. And some of the disobedient spirits say, I know what I'll do. I know what I'll do. And a spirit says, I have a plan. And God says, what's your plan? And the guy says, I will put a lying spirit in the mouth of all of Ahab's prophets. And God says, that'll work. That'll put an end to him. And God allows disobedient, powerful spirits who are wiser than you. They don't have any time or space restrictions. They have been observing human beings for thousands of years. You have no idea how powerful the spirits who oppose you are. You have no clue. People think they're all victorious because I believe in Jesus. You have no idea how to stay safe. You were not taught how to stay safe. I was not taught how to stay safe. And I'm teaching how to stay safe in the Jesus goodies. And I'm teaching bored teenagers how to become an inspiring leader in this world instead of like a stupid idiot that's just following along with your damned church peer group. I don't care how nice your church is. You're just following along with the habits of your peer group, and you're missing Jesus' principles. So that's my point. I shut my life down. Now we come to the transformation vacation. Jesus selected 12 guys. He took them away for 3 years. They had no opportunity to operate on their own. If you men don't get yourself into a situation where you are serving on a spiritual team for a long period of time, you're not going to be broken loose from your selfishness demons and the demons that were stuck to you in your youth. You need an extended transformation vacation. Transformation vacation. Even the super rabbi Paul, he was sent away from the synagogues for 3 years. A rabbi with no synagogues is like a fish out of water. He was out there wandering through the towns of Arabia, and he was being taught by Jesus in person. He was being shown that people have hearts of love and hearts of discernment. And he was led to people who were of the right heart, just like Jesus was led to the 12 commercial fishermen. He was led to people who were of the right heart, and he stayed close with them and walked with them day after day. And they got to see the miracle show. And Paul got to see the miracle show for 3 years. So you, buddy boy, you male human being, if you don't take a 3-year vacation from all of your stuff and sit on a team of just spiritually focused people, you might not be broken off from your familiar demons. This is what I learned when I went into the Mission Teens Mission Bible Training Center. The first 2.5 months, God showed me that there were spirits that were leaving me. They weren't being shouted at. They were just being starved out because my day-to-day behavior was so oriented with a group of people. When Jesus was a boy, 10 men had to stand together every morning in the community for the morning prayer. That's a big group of people. That was the rule for the former covenant of Moses. The rule was 10 men every morning for the morning prayer. Yes, there's always tons of women and children ready for prayer, but to get 10 guys together, you can't even start the prayer until you have 10 men. That rule structured the peer group. Your peer group is just a scattered mess going to a church building. You don't have a solidified peer group. I'm challenging you to take a 10-month transformation vacation in the peaceable atmosphere of the Mission Teens Mission Bible Training Centers. Put all your stuff in storage. Don't even worry about your bills and overhead. God can make some miracles. And you just check in. And you stay in and you get your diploma 10 months later. And if you're wise, you'll go work as an overseer in one of the other centers, and you'll actually put in 2 or 3 years in the transformation vacation because you're in non-stop teaching mode, non-stop miracle mode, non-stop testimony mode, non-stop friend of God mode. I'm serious. If you don't make that work, you're free to do whatever you want to. You're an American. You can get a passport and go move to Spain for the rest of your life. You can do anything you want to do. And I am strongly suggesting that you take a transformation vacation in the Mission Teens Mission Bible Training Center atmosphere for at least the 10 months and get a diploma. You will become such a disciplined and trained person. You will be a guide to other people. You won't be just bumping into walls and looking for a place to settle down and not be bored, or to settle down with some people who seem like nice community. Bullshit. Your job is not finding a nice community. Your job is being a disciple and an apostle and a leader and a planter of communion groups. The two big jobs that we have are staying in communion in homes for the rest of our lives. That's job one. Job two is raising up brand new apostles and prophets, because those are the ones who start the communion groups. Raising up new apostles and prophets. Do you know what that takes? Do you know how to do that? Well, those are the two big jobs. Being in communion, in a home communion group for the rest of your life, and then transferring to another group if you're moving somewhere. Or you're an apostle who is on team with another male human being, and you're helping to plant new communion groups, and the women are teamed up with you and they're helping you. survive and do things because you're living super frugally and you're traveling constantly and you're speaking truth constantly, or you're a prophet who's living off on his own and studying and spending time with God, like John the Baptist or Ezekiel. This is our life. This is ordinary life. So wise up, understand, stay tuned to Grandpa Honesty Guy. And if you've got questions, you can send me an email. My two email addresses are grandpahonestyguy@gmail.com and off the grid Christianity, off the grid Christianity @gmail.com. Thanks.